Welcome to EPG Pathshala in the subject of information technology and in the paper of open source software. In this module, we will study open source security tools. We will survey few tools like Nmap, we will see firewall, and we will also study OpenSSL. So, our learning objectives are, we will give a brief introduction to Nmap. It is a port scanner utility. There is another tool, that is IP tables. It is a well known firewall in Linux, and we will see a cryptographic tool, that is OpenSSL. It also includes few basics of cryptography as well. So, friends, let us begin with the Nmap tool. The Nmap tool is known as network mapper. As you can see on the screen, the Nmap tool was initially developed to scan ports, and later on it was scanning the operating systems, and it also scans the entire network. As you can see on the screen, the Nmap tool can discover operating system and few other softwares that run on remote systems. It is licensed under GNU GPL version 2. It was initially released in 1997. So, it has completed nearly 20 years. It can be ported on most of the operating systems like Linux, Windows, Solaris, BSD variants and so on. And basically, the tool is written in C, C++ language and Python. There is a GUI version of Nmap, that is ZenMap. So, those who do not want to use command line, they can use a GUI version of ZenMap, that is the variant of Nmap tool. As you can see on the screen, this is the screen of ZenMap GUI. There is a menu to scan, there are few other tools. You can specify the target website to whom you want to scan, and this tool will scan the website, it will scan for all open ports. There are few other utilities which go in the tools menu, and there is another profile menu. So, this is the GUI version, but we will focus on the commands that are used by the Nmap utility. Now, the very first command we will see is scan the entire machine. It scans the open ports of a particular machine. So, the command will be nmap and host name. Nmap is a command, there is no need to use a super user ID. You can simply type nmap on any normal user's login ID, and you specify the host name. It can be IP address or it can be localhost. So, if I enter the command nmap localhost, the output will be of this kind. The nmap is starting, so it is being indicated, it is scanning the localhost. This is the time it took for scanning, the latency time, and there are few ports that are open. So, you can see port 21, 22, 23, these are all open ports. So, Nmap has scanned one IP address in 0.07 seconds. This is the output of the Nmap command. Let us see another screen. Over here, I am specifying the port number. So, if I want to scan only a single port, a service on running on port 53, then I will specify Nmap -p 53 and the host name, or it can be IP address. So, this is the output. From the output you can see port 53 is closed. Now, port 53 is used for DNS, name server recognition, and now it is closed. So, you can scan entire machine or you can scan an individual port using the Nmap tool. Let us see another screen. Here I am scanning port 22. Port 22 is a well known port number for SSH, that is secure shell. So, from the output you can see 22 TCP open SSH, means SSH is open, the port is open. So, we can connect to the system, the specified system using SSH client. So, this is another example where the port is open. Now, why do we scan these port numbers? Usually hackers, they try to get into the system through open ports. Whether a service is running or not, whether a service is vulnerable to the hackers, all these details can be known from the Nmap utility. Nmap is a widely used tool for hackers, Nmap in itself has a programming language, though the study of Nmap is out of scope for this single module. So, let us see few other examples how Nmap can be helpful to us. Now, Nmap can also scan port numbers on remote systems. So, instead of the local system, if we give remote host, port numbers can be scanned. Here we are scanning port 22. This system is some other system, it is not our Linux terminal, and you can see here SSH is closed. So, for this system the SSH service is closed. Let us move to another slide. Here I am specifying the entire network. I am scanning the entire network using the Nmap command. So, we give the network ID and we give the subnet mask. This is using CIDR notation. So, the report contains each and every IP address and its details. I have shortened the screen, the output is not being shown over here. It just signifies that the report for 192.168.1.1 will be below this, followed by another report for 192.168.1.2 and so on. So, Nmap will give the detailed description of each and every host in this network. Let us see what other utilities are given by Nmap. Now, if I want to scan in detail, I can specify the host name with the option V. When I say -v, it will give a detailed report of this system. The report will be very long, it will contain lot of other details apart from port numbers. It also displays the operating systems and few other software that are running on the host machine. So, if we want to scan open ports for a specific protocol, say for example TCP, then I will give the option -s capital T, T indicates the TCP protocol. So, the output will contain all the open ports for the TCP protocol for this system. Now, if you want to scan UDP open ports, then instead of T we replace using U. The uppercase U will scan all the UDP ports that are open for the different protocols. So, this is a list of certain commands. If we do not give any option to the Nmap command, it will display a brief help or the list of options that can be used with the Nmap command. If I want to scan the operating system and uptime, uptime means since how long the system is running, I will give the option -O. If I want to scan a range of machines starting from 1 to 20, so the machines will start from 192.168.1.1 and I want to scan all systems up to 192.168.1.20, then I can give range using this option. Now, if I want to read hosts from a file, suppose I have different IP addresses and I want to do a routine checkup. So, my hosts.txt file will contain all IP addresses or the host names, and my Nmap utility will read each and every IP address and will do a port scan. If I want to check the firewall, whether the system is protected or not, the option is -s and A in uppercase. Again, if there is a firewall and the system is being protected, there is another option -P and N. So, these are the different options that can be used with Nmap. Few other options are, there is an option -F, this is for fast scan. If we have a large network, Nmap may take lot of time. So, -F will give a fast scanning and it will give the different port numbers that are open for this system. Now, if I want to redirect the output of Nmap to some file, we can use redirection operator as shown in the screen, or we can also specify the path name. Here -O and N will indicate the output. So, the output file will be this, and the IP address for which we are scanning will be the 192.168.1.1 address. Suppose I want to scan 2 ports, then with the option -P I will give port number 80 and 443. So, Nmap will scan whether the port 80 is open, it will also scan whether port 443 is open or not. If I want to scan range of ports beginning from 80 to 200, this is the way we can specify 80-200, we specify the range of the port numbers. If I want to scan all ports, we can use wildcard like asterisk sign. So, this is how we can specify different ways of scanning port numbers. It can be an individual port or we can have multiple ports using Nmap software. Now, Nmap has another utility, that is IF list. IF means interface. So, Nmap will list all the interfaces that are available on the system. Usually laptops have multiple interfaces, they have wireless and wired interface. So, Nmap can list all the interfaces available on the system. It can be our system or remote systems. So, this is how Nmap can be used to scan ports. Now, there is another way of securing a system, that is firewall. Firewall is a piece of software which secures a system from network. As we know, firewall, the name comes from wall. Wall is to protect our trusted environment. So, firewall generally trusts or secures the system from outside attack, as well as it also secures from the incoming from the inside users who try to get outside privileges. So, firewall is in between a network and the outer world. For instance, if there is a huge organization, they have their own network. So, to secure their network, they will use a firewall. The firewall will stand between the company's private network and the global internet. There can be levels of firewall. Linux has a good piece of firewall, that is IP tables. IP tables is part of kernel itself. So, let us see what IP tables will provide us, and we will also see few basic commands for IP tables. So, as you can see on the screen, IP tables is a firewall in Linux. It is a command line interface. So, when we want to modify the rules of IP tables, we will use command line. It is good for security administrators and engineers. They can manage incoming and outgoing traffic, and for this they write certain rules. So, a set of configurable rules are written and they are known as tables. This is the architecture of IP tables. You can see there is something like input, forward and output. So, there are different rules for input, there can be rules for forwarding and there can be rules for output. Now, multiple rules, they form chains. So, there can be set of tables which have chains, and this contains set of inbuilt rules or user defined rules. So, the system administrator usually modifies the tables. An administrator can add rules or they can remove rules. Now, the rules can be applied for input, incoming packets, it can be applied for forwarding packets, or it can be applied to the outgoing packets. And again there are some other notions that can be used with the IP tables. IP tables nowadays support NAT. So, usually IP tables also implement the facility of NAT, that is network address translation. Now, the first thing, how do we start or stop IP tables? So, the command is service IP table start. You can start the IP tables or the firewall. We can stop using the service command. Now, as I said, IP tables is a firewall, there has to be privileges, either a root user or with a sudo privilege you can start or stop IP tables. If we modify certain rules, we usually restart the IP tables using the restart option of the service command. So, this is how we can start, stop and restart the IP tables. Now, if I want to check the existing rules of my system, the options are -L, -N and -V. So, with the IP tables command, when we give these options, it will display a list of rules. Again, here the screen will be so large, which may not fit in this screen. So, I have just shown the input rules, I have skipped the forward and output rules. Here you can see there are certain input rules, there are policies to accept packets, it is for UDP, TCP packet, these are the policies, accept the packets for these port numbers. So, this is how rules are maintained in IP tables. You can check your own system what kind of rules are there with your IP tables command. You may try with these options and you can see the list, it is a huge list. You will try to identify the ports and port numbers that are allowed or that are not allowed for your IP tables firewall. Now, the question is how do we block IP addresses or how do we unblock IP addresses? For example, if I want to block Facebook, I will try to find out the IP address of facebook.com and I can block the Facebook account. So, this is one way of blocking some IP tables IP address. Here you can see IP tables -a, this is input rule, and I am specifying the IP address. The X notation will be replaced by the IP address. So, whatever IP address we give, the firewall will block access to that IP address. We can also specifically block the TCP connections for a particular IP address. So, there can be various ways to block IP addresses. -a indicates we are blocking it. To unblock, we use -d, and again the same structure, we give the same IP address if you want to unblock. Now, for this you must take care, if it is your personal system, if you block IP addresses, probably the connections will not be open for that particular website. So, please take care, if you modify rules of IP tables, it is highly probable that you will not get access to that particular host. So, usually I would recommend you may remove rules, you may delete rules, but if you add rules, if you are blocking some IP addresses, please ensure that you are not using those systems, or at least you must know how to unblock those IP addresses. So, one way is you can block IP addresses or unblock IP addresses using firewall. The another way is we can either block or unblock port numbers. So, let us see how we can block or unblock port numbers for a given firewall. Now, as you can see on the screen, this is how we can block or unblock port numbers. We specify the port number. For outgoing connections, we specify the term output. So, if I want to block port number say 50 for all outgoing connections, I will give output and I will specify the port number 50. This X will be replaced by the number 50. And if I want to allow incoming connections, for instance, I have a web server which is running on port 80 and I want to allow all incoming connection on port 80, this will be the command. It will be input to allow incoming connection and this X will be replaced by number 80. So, this is how we can block IP addresses and port numbers using the IP tables command. Again, I would like to remind, this IP tables requires super user privileges. So, you may log in as a super user or you may use sudo command with the IP tables command if you have those privileges. Again, we must also recall the hash sign indicates super user. So, when you modify the rules, please ensure that you do not block a well known service which you are always using. Okay, now we move on to cryptography. Cryptography is a science or art, the way we try to hide information using certain encryption decryption algorithms. We can prove authenticity, we enforce authorization. So, cryptography is the building blocks towards security. Now, when we talk about cryptography, there are lot of encryption algorithms, lot of decryption algorithms. There are symmetric key cryptography, asymmetric key cryptography and so on. There are various hash functions to create message digest. Over here, we will study OpenSSL tool. OpenSSL is an open source tool that can be used for cryptography. Now, as you see on the slide, There are algorithms that can be classified into symmetric key and asymmetric key algorithms. Symmetric key techniques, they use a common key, what we call a secret key. So, there will be a common key, a single key for encryption as well as decryption. Algorithms like AES, DES, they are all symmetric key cryptography algorithms. And there are another set of algorithms which we identify as asymmetric key. They use key pair. So, there are two keys, there can be a public key and there will be a private key. So, we usually encrypt the data using public key and the decryption will be done by the private key. Here the algorithms will differ, and so there are algorithms like RSA, elliptic curve, they all fall under the category of asymmetric key cryptography. A user will have a choice, either he can use symmetric key if he is likely to share keys with another person, or a user can also use asymmetric key if they are using key pair where the public key is shared with some other user and the private key is with the owner of the user who is sending the data. So, let us study the OpenSSL tool. It supports symmetric key as well as asymmetric key cryptography. Now, OpenSSL is a widely used tool. It provides the cryptography libraries. It implements the secure socket layer and TLS, that is transport layer security protocols. So, that when computers communicate, the communication can be encrypted over the network. OpenSSL supports various algorithms, that is ciphers. It also supports public key cryptography and it also supports cryptographic hash functions. OpenSSL tool is licensed and it is being released under Apache license, and there is additional 4-clause PSD license. To download OpenSSL, you may visit the website openssl.org. Most of the Linux systems, they already have OpenSSL pre-installed when you install the system. For Windows, again there are binaries to install OpenSSL. You may also write programs through which you can invoke the OpenSSL routines, as it is a popular cryptography library. So, let us see few commands that are for OpenSSL. First command is, we must know the version of OpenSSL. So, the command is OpenSSL version -a. It will list details about the OpenSSL utility. Again, the screen is quite large. I have reduced the output to 3 lines. Rest of the lines were not much significant. So, I have removed in this screen. You can see the output contains OpenSSL version when it was built and the platform. So, this OpenSSL tool is running on Linux 64-bit platform. This is how we can know the version of OpenSSL. It is always advisable to use the latest version, upgraded version of the OpenSSL tool. Now, if you want to list standard commands, there are many commands with OpenSSL. When you give this command with the list standard commands option, it will list all the commands. This is a ready reckoner for those who forget what kind of option is suitable with the OpenSSL utility. The another command is list cipher commands. So, suppose if I want to do encryption, I can use either AES algorithm or BF algorithm and so on. These are the different algorithms or the ciphers that can be used with the OpenSSL utility. Now, what does this line signify? AES is the cryptographic technique, advanced encryption system, 128 is the key size and CBC is the mode, that is cipher block chaining mode. The other one is electronic code book. So, a particular algorithm will support different modes. When you want to use AES, we generally specify the entire string like AES -128 CBC. So, over here I have shortened the screen. I have displayed few algorithms, but you may try out different commands and you can browse through the list of cipher commands that are supported by OpenSSL. Now, let us do encryption. So, here you can see I am creating a file plain.txt, this is plain text, and to encrypt I will use the command OpenSSL. The algorithm for encryption is AES 256 bit key CBC mode, and ENC is for encryption. So, I am encrypting, the input file is plain.txt, this will be the plain text, and the output file will generate ciphertext. So, my ciphertext will be stored in encrypted.bin file. In the process of encryption, OpenSSL will ask for password. You may enter certain password, because for decryption you will again require those passwords. Now, let us see how to decrypt. For decryption, we use the same, but over here -d is there, that indicates decryption, and the input file is encrypted.bin. So, whenever the decryption take place, it will open this file and it will decrypt the data with the password that we had provided in the earlier screen. So, earlier we encrypted hello all keyword in the plain.txt file, and when you decrypt you will see the output hello all. So, this is using symmetric key cryptography. Now, let us move to asymmetric key. Asymmetric key requires public and private keys. So, while you are using OpenSSL, the first thing is we generate keys. We have to generate private key first. From this private key, we generate public key. They are stored in files .pem files. We specify the key size, it is 1024 bits. So, the steps are, first we generate private key. Using private key, we generate public key. Now, we do encryption. So, to encrypt, we use public key that was generated. The encrypt command is specified OpenSSL, and this encrypt option will encrypt using public key my plain.txt file. The output will be stored in encrypt.txt. And to decrypt, it will use the decrypt keyword. You use the private key for decryption, and the output will be stored in the new encrypt.txt file. So, this is how we do encryption and decryption. Few other techniques that are supported by OpenSSL are, we can generate SSL certificates, we can generate digital certificates, we can view certificates, and so on. So, friends, in this module we studied Nmap. Nmap is a widely used port scanner. We went through few commands how Nmap can be helpful to scan entire network or your single system. Then we also went through firewall commands, how to add certain rules or remove certain rules in the firewall. And finally, we went through the OpenSSL utility. Using OpenSSL, you can encrypt or decrypt files. You can encrypt using asymmetric key cryptography or symmetric key cryptography, and similarly you can decrypt those files. So, this was an overview of certain open source tools and utilities that are widely used by people. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Thank you.